Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a soft glam makeup tutorial. First, we're going to start off with the Janessa Myrex Blurring Balm Powder in the shade Universal. This product is great for getting rid of any pores or texture on the skin and making your makeup look flawless. Next, I'm going to be going in with the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Warm Honey. This concealer has more of an orange undertone, which is perfect for color correcting. I usually would use an orange color corrector for this, but I didn't have one at the time. So after that, we're going to go in with our brow glue. And here I'm going to be brushing up my hairs of my eyebrows and just shaping them to how I would love them to look. So next, I'm going to be using the NYX brow pencil in this shade Espresso just to fill in my brows. We're going to be doing light hair strokes throughout the brows, carving our brows with the infallible 24-hour concealer in the shade 405. So I'm going to be taking an angled brush that I got off Shein and carving the bottom of my brows out and using a fluffy brush to blend that concealer out just to give it a more natural finish. I'm going to be taking a flat brush in that same concealer to carve out the top of my brows as well. And I'm going to follow that up with that same fluffy brush to blend that out. Always make sure you're blending out your brow concealer just so it looks more natural. We don't want our brows to look too light on the outside just because the concealer is not blended. So this is how the brows turned out. They aren't necessarily the exact same, but you want them to be sisters and not twins. So next I'm going to go in with that same concealer and place it all over both of my eyelids. And with that same fluffy brush from earlier, we're going to be blending that out. I'm going to be setting my eyelids just so the eyeshadow has somewhere to land on. The eyeshadow palette we're going to be using today is the True Icon palette from Makeup Revolution. I'm going to be going in with nude shade as my transition shade. I'm going to be going in with a fluffy eyeshadow brush and just placing that underneath my brow bone area. And this is going to be the start of our eyeshadow look. The transition shade is more so supposed to be a natural shade. Next, we're going to be going in with this brownish red shade, and I'm going to be adding that into my crease just to give our eye some definition. And I'm also going to be dragging that down into the outer corners of my eyes. And the key to a good eyeshadow look is to consistently blend. The more you blend, the better your eyeshadow look is going to turn out. So that's definitely a huge tip that I've learned over the years from doing my makeup. Next, we're going to be going into this champagne gold shimmery shade all over the lids. And then once I place that down, I'm going to go back in with that same crease brush and add that color back into my crease and outer corner just to make sure everything is blended. Then I'm going to take a flat brush and pick up a little bit of that crease color and mix it with a darker burgundy shade and use that to smoke out my liner, which is going to give us more definition on the eyes. And next, for foundation, we're going to go in with the True Match L'Oreal foundation in the shade 8W. This is the closest color match that I've ever found. This is my number one foundation right now. I love it. The coverage is great and it's just perfect. So I'm going to be going in with the foundation brush just to blend out that foundation everywhere. And when we get to the forehead, we're not going to be being super careful when applying the foundation on our forehead or blending it out on our forehead, just because we don't want that foundation to get into our eyebrows and ruin them. So just make sure you're being super careful when applying that foundation. We're going to be going back in with the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer in the shades 405 and 400. First, I'm going to go in with the darker shade that's more so closer to my skin complexion. I'm going to be applying that right underneath the eyes, on my chin, forehead, down the bridge of my nose. Then I'm going to go in with that same concealer brush to blend that concealer out underneath the eyes. First, we're always going to start on our inner corner underneath our eyes. And notice here how I'm just doing tapping motions in the same area to blend that out. You don't want to spread the product with swiping motions because this is going to result in you taking away that coverage in that area, and it's going to look super patchy. So always remember to keep patting versus swiping. And I'm going to do that everywhere that we place that concealer, and making sure that I continuously blend because we don't want our concealer to not look natural. You want your makeup to look like skin. So keep blending no matter what. If you are looking at your makeup and it doesn't look right to you, the only thing you should do is blend. Blend is going to solve 99.9% of your problem. Then we're going to go back in and grab a beauty blender to blend out that concealer, the edges of the concealer, just so everything is nice and seamless. Next, I'm going to be adding in some more of that lighter concealer shade underneath the eyes, just so we get that brightening under eye look. And I'm going to be using that beauty blender to blend that out. Next, we're going to go in with the Halo Glow Contour Wand from e.l.f. And I'm going to be taking that on the forehead, on the sides of my cheekbone, down the bridge, not the bridge, I'm sorry, the sides of my nose, the side of my chin, and along my jawline. I'm going to be taking an angled brush, an angled contour brush, just to blend everything out. I'm going to start off with my cheekbones and work my way towards the forehead. And notice how when I'm blending out my contour, I'm staying in the same area that it's supposed to be. I'm not dragging it down. I'm not swiping it. I'm just blending. This is going to prevent your face from being overly contoured, and you don't want to look too structured in those areas. Then you start to look crazy. So try to keep that product in that same area. The only time I would drag down is when like I'm doing my forehead, when I want to bring it down so my forehead doesn't look as big as it does. And when we get to the sides of my nose, notice how I'm using a smaller brush, a smaller angle brush, just to blend out that contour down the sides of my nose. And I'm bringing it up into my brow bone, or the beginning of my brow area, just to make sure that everything looks super natural. And I'm going to be using that beauty blender to apply some more of that concealer in those areas to bring back that highlight on the face. I'm going to be taking these blushes from e.l.f. in the shades Bold Face Lilac and Pinky Promise. And I'm going to be applying those on the apples of the cheeks. And I'm going to be going in with this brush from Real Techniques and blending that blush out. And I'm going to be bringing it underneath the eye a little bit, just to get that dramatic blush effect. I definitely love this blush color. And I'm also going to go back in with that angled brush that we use for our cream contour, just to bring that blush and that contour together. Next, I want to add some more of that lighter concealer, just to bring back that brightness underneath the eye that we lost when we were applying our blush. Next, for setting our face, I'm going to start off with the Fit Me pressed powder in the shade 310. So with this product, I'm going to be going in with the beauty blender and blending out that concealer before I apply the pressed powder, just so we get any creases that were under the eye blended out. And then we're going to go in with the powder puff and apply that pressed powder before we apply our loose powder. I find that this gives me a more flawless highlight, and we're just going to apply that under each eye after we blended out that concealer, and anywhere else that we applied concealer to, like the forehead, down the bridge of the nose, on the chin, above my lip. And next, we're going to go in with the Huda Beauty loose setting powder in the shade Peach Pie, using this mini powder puff that came in the packaging. And I'm going to be tapping that and tapping off the excess and applying this everywhere we apply that pressed powder. And we're going to make sure that we are pressing this into the skin just so everything is nicely set. And we want to be setting everything that we've applied cream to. So for instance, like cream highlight, we're going to be using the pressed powder and the loose setting powder for that. For the cream contour, we're going to be setting that with a powder bronzer or a powder contour. For my blush, the cream, we had a liquid blush, so we're going to be setting that with a powder blush as well. So everything that you use that was cream, you're going to set that as well. So next, we're going to be going in with our Morphe bronzer. I don't believe they sell this product anymore, so I got this a few years ago. This is their bronzer. I'm going to be applying that everywhere that we contour just to bring some warmth back to the face. On the sides of the chin, under the jawline, forehead, everywhere. And I'm also going to go back in with that same angled small brush and go down the sides of my nose with the bronzer just to shape my nose how I would like. Next, I'm going to be going in with the NYX Buttermilk Blush in the shade Better with Time. And I'm going to be applying that with the same brush that we used to apply the liquid blush earlier. We're going to be setting our face today with the Morphe setting mist and the One Size powder setting spray. Before we set our face, I'm going to be applying some of this brown liner on my waterline. For our lip combo, I'm going to be using the Maybelline lip liner in the shade Cross the Line and the e.l.f. plumping gloss in the shade Pink Paloma. I love this lip liner. Like, if you don't get any other brown liner, this is the liner that you need. Then I'm going to be going in with a shimmery shade from that same True Icon palette from Makeup Revolution. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you on my next one.